Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Love Talks. Happy Saturday. And thank you guys for joining me today. I'm your host, Ina Love, and today we have a great segment on keeping it real. If you are new to Love Talks and you've missed any of the previous segments, we are now in our fourth series in this series of Diving in the Heart. We've completed four previous series, and you can find all the previous segments here on my Facebook page. Also at Ina Love Poetry. That is my YouTube channel, and I would appreciate if you would stop by and like and subscribe. Or also on my website, somethingaboutlove.foundation.org. And also, before I dive into this segment today, I just want to say my apologies for the little glitch getting started today. Technical issues do happen from time to time. So for some reason, Facebook wanted me to reset my password. So anyways, just wanted to say thank you again for your patience. So today we are going to be talking about keeping it real. And keeping it real is obviously a term that we've all heard of before. However, I'm going to actually share a different concept or a different idea of keeping it real. In the general sense that we think of keeping it real, it actually means to be, to say what's on your mind, to be open and honest, keep it real. But I'm talking about real in the sense of what I call with the capital R, keeping it real in terms of in a God sense. So that's really what we're going to be looking at today is actually, like I said, a new concept of keeping it real. There's actually what I would call a deeper meaning. When I think of keeping it real, for me, it actually means being your true, authentic self, a person who is honest and sincere, a person of integrity, like being the person you truly are, keeping it real in life. Not only in the way that we are, as I said, in life in general, like you want to keep it real in life, meaning, be the person that you truly are. And that's something that we really have to start to look within, really look at who we are, how we're being, how we see ourselves, how we think of ourselves. We also need to look at keeping it real in terms of relationships, with, not only the people who are closest to us, like our family, friends, and loved ones, but also in terms of how we interact with, even a stranger. You always want to keep it real. And that means, as I said, being your true and authentic self, speaking from the heart, speaking openly. All of those things are what I consider the truest sense of keeping it real. And again, I say, it's the real with a capital R, like, the way God thinks of us. So, as I said, in life, your goal is really to become more of who we truly are, like the person that, the way that God intends us to be. That is what keeping it real is really about. So again, we want to start to think in these terms, and it's something that we need to be aware of as we are, just interacting, as we go through life, as we, in the conversations that we're having with the people we love, in our friendships, our significant others, and our day-to-day interactions. You want to truly keep it real. Be your true, authentic, sincere self, because it's absolutely okay to speak your truth to anyone, but we want to do that consciously, meaning really consider how your words are going to be received. How you have to consider another person's feelings. Like all of these things have to come in play when we're keeping it real. So you know, keeping it real is actually what I would consider living for God. You know, it's another way of actually, you know, looking at how we show up in life. But, you know, as I said, there is a connotation around the idea of keeping it real. There's actually a sort of a negative connotation to that. You know, sometimes people say, oh, I'm going to keep it real, meaning like, you know, I'm going to say what I really need to say. I'm going to say, you know, and sometimes that doesn't exactly come across in the right way. It may be perceived in a negative way. So you always want to keep it real, meaning, you know, really say what you mean, say what you feel. But there is, of course, a right way to say anything. You know, we can say something to a person that's very hard to say, but we can say it in a very loving way. So again, we want to keep it real, keeping in mind that you want to be considerate of the other person. So, you know, love is really our true nature. So, the information that I'm always sharing in Love Talks, it's really, as I said, about us becoming more of who we truly are, the person that we are meant to be. You know, I wrote a post on Facebook today and it said, you know, I was speaking about people who have golden hearts, you know, and it's not something that we see very often. You know, how often do you see a person and you think, wow, that person has a really beautiful heart? But that's how we actually want to show up. Because, like I said, love is actually the realest aspect of who we are. You know, we are beings of love. Love is our purpose in life. We are here to love not only ourselves and one another, but you know, love is actually a way of being. So again, we want to keep it real in the sense of being a genuine, authentic, loving aspect of ourselves. So I'm speaking of keeping it real in the sense of love, in the sense of being open-hearted. And, you know, it's sort of a yin and a yang, if you will, because, you know, in the same sense that we are afraid to love, we are afraid to be our authentic, loving selves. Oftentimes, you know, it's really hard for many of us to really come from our heart when we're speaking to one another. And you know, keeping it real is it's the same concept, if you will. So by the same token, it's very hard for some people to keep it real. You know, often we say things that, you know, that's not what we really feel, that's not what we truly want to say, or we may choose not to say something that we intended or would like to share with the person. But again, in keeping it real and being true to yourself, we need to be able to communicate whatever it is that is on our hearts. But again, we want to do that consciously, being considerate and, you know, allowing the words and the way that we share whatever it is that we have to say. We want that to always come from the heart. So again, keeping it real can be difficult for some of us because, you know, we just as we are afraid to love, we're afraid of, you know, what are the ramifications of truly being open, honest, and sincere with someone. You know, there's always fear behind anything that holds us back. So if we're afraid to be our authentic self, it's because, you know, that there is a fear there of something. You know, either we're afraid of, you know, maybe that person won't like you, or, you know, maybe, you know, it could cause some type of friction in your relationship. There's always some fear associated. But again, there is a right way to communicate anything. So, you know, you really just want to be aware of whether or not you're truly expressing your true feelings in your conversations, and, you know, get to a place where, you know, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, because, you know, you always want to express what is truly on your heart. You know, it really starts to trouble us if we don't, if we hold things inside and we don't actually communicate the way that we truly feel. So, just kind of take it in baby steps, if you will. Be aware of when you are holding back and not truly sharing or saying what it is that you want to say. And you really just have to push yourself. Whenever fear shows up, I always, I acknowledge it. Like, okay, I know that fear is here, but I'm not going to allow it to stop me. And that truly is the way to overcome fear. It's just to be aware when it's showing up and make a conscious decision that you're not going to allow it to stop you. For whatever reason the fear is showing up, just acknowledge that it's there and push yourself to do whatever it is that you're truly wanting to do or say. Because again, it is truly fear that holds us back, oftentimes from keeping it real. Some people don't have an issue with keeping it real, and, they can be a little too real. Some people have no filter, they have no, there's nothing that actually holds them back, and there's no, basically no filter or no limits. I mean, that is not a healthy way of keeping it real. I know people who communicate in that way, and it's not the most, that way of keeping it real oftentimes doesn't carry over in a good way. So again, just be conscious of the things that you're sharing, but push yourself to keep it real, because we need to really be true to ourselves and be true to one another. As I said, not only in life, in the way you're showing up, the way you are being in life, that is one aspect of keeping it real. Are you being your true, authentic self? When you think of yourself and the person that you are, your way of being, do you feel that you are being your true, authentic self in your relationships? And it may be different with, different people in your life. Like, you may find it easier to keep it real with your friends or your family, but a hard time to keep it real in relationships. These are the things that we need to be aware of. And, as I said, continue to just push yourself, like, okay, maybe I'm not going to say this time, but there's another opportunity where you can find a way to communicate whatever it is you really, need or want to say, because it's very important that we do that. It will eventually cause issues in your relationships if you're not being completely open and honest, because in every interaction with a person, we get to know one another a little better, especially in any type of new relationship, friendships or relationships with a significant other. In every interaction, we're getting to know one another better. So you always want to present yourself as your authentic self, meaning, say the things that you truly feel. Don't just say what you might think that person wants to hear, or things of that nature. You have to really keep it real, because, you want to present yourself as you truly are. You want to allow every person to get to know the real you. That's very important. And that's what keeping it real is all about. So, if you don't like something about your way of being, you obviously are the only person who can change that. But, we have to look at these things. We have to look at how we're communicating. We have to look at how we're showing up, how other people perceive us. All of these things actually matter. But keeping it real, again, you want to be, the most authentic that you can possibly be in terms of being who you truly are. So, again, we want to just be aware when the fear shows up, and never, well, I'm not going, I don't say, shouldn't say never. Fear does actually hold us back from time to time, but you just want to be aware of that and start to push beyond the fear. And the more you do that, the easier it actually becomes, until, eventually it won't be hard for you to keep it real and truly express yourself. So, in living for God, we are truly keeping it real. Love is the realest aspect of who we are. We are beings of God, of love, and we are here to love. So when we are presenting ourselves in a loving way, we are truly keeping it real. We are being the real, the true, authentic aspect, not only of, you know, the way God would expect us to be, would ideal, not ideally, but the way we should show up in life, and how other people perceive us. So keeping it real is really, it's a big deal. It truly is. And we need to start really looking at ourselves, take a look within. As I said, if there are things about you that you don't particularly like, you know, the next time a situation like that shows up, you have an opportunity to show up in a different way. We can even go back if, let's say you're having a conversation with someone, and you weren't completely honest with them, or perhaps you don't like the way you communicated something with them. We actually need to talk about these things. You know, all of these little all of these little things that happen in relationships, if we're not being, again, our open, authentic self, they actually start to build up, and they will eventually cause problems in the relationship. So, again, if there's ever anything that happens, revisit that. And maybe, you could say, I don't like the way I communicated that to you. I don't feel like it really came across in the way that I intended. Or I expressed myself in a certain way, but that's not how I truly feel about the situation. So again, we're just talking about really being true to who you are. But hopefully, that you are being a loving being and expressing yourself in a loving way. So, that is the godly aspect of keeping it real, if you will. So, and another thing about keeping it real that's really good to know, if you think about it, it's really obvious. But, when we're not being our true, authentic self, people know that. We read one another very well. In the same way that if you're having a conversation with a person, and they're just saying a bunch of things that maybe they think that's what you want to hear, or whatever it is, like, we generally know when someone is trying to fool us, or play us, or what I'm trying to say. But by the same token, people know when you're doing that. So you really want to keep it real. Present yourself in a way that people can really get to know you. And really, that's how we build trust with one another. You want people to really get to know the person that you truly are. Don't just present yourself in a way to try and please everyone, because ultimately you will be the one who ends up being disappointed. So, we have to keep it real and be true to ourselves. It's just as important as, so you're not doing it just for yourself. It's equally important, as important to the person that you're communicating with. So, there's a quote or a saying that you can't love another person until you learn to love yourself. And I think, keeping it real sort of works in the same way. Until we learn to keep it real with ourselves, we can't really keep it real with another person. And that means, really being authentic, really stepping into who you are, who you want to be, and showing up in that way. So, I'm just really trying to impress upon you, the importance of being your authentic self, keeping it real in the realest sense of, that concept. So let's see. And as I said, a lot of issues can arise in a relationship if we're not keeping it real, if we're not being our authentic self. And then it's like, all of these little fires that we have to put out. So it's so much easier. You will save yourself so much heartache and pain on the back end of things. A relationship might even, a possible relationship could, maybe not even get off the ground because you're not being your authentic self. Like I said, we're really good at reading one another. We're not really fooling anyone. Even, obviously sometimes we get away with these things, or we might think that we get away with things, but we are very good at reading one another. So as I said, in the same way that you are able to read people that you're communicating with, they are able to read you. And especially if you're dealing with a real person, and as I say, real with that capital R, a person who is very confident and comfortable with being their authentic self, it's very easy for them to see through someone who isn't being authentic. So just, be aware of these things. Just work on it, like everything else, like everything that I present, or that I share in Love Talks is all about helping us become, better people. It's about helping us to become more of who we are. It's about helping us to grow and heal. And this whole concept of keeping it real is really about that. It's about helping you to, really grow your character. And, we have to think about things like, our morals and values, like things that we don't really hear so much anymore, but all of those things truly matter. It really matters what another person thinks of you. It matters how you show up in the world. If you're being your true self and people don't like it, that's okay. That's on them. But you truly have to present yourself, as you truly want to be seen in the world, because that really does matter. So also, when we're speaking from our hearts, if we're truly being authentic and keeping it real, um, intention is something that we really need to be aware of. As I said, we can say, it's possible to say anything to a person. Sometimes some things are very hard to communicate. You don't know how that person is going to receive it, but you need to say that to them. But intentions are very important. If you have to say something that's really difficult or hard to share with a person, but you're really coming at them, and I don't mean like at them, but you're sharing this with them with good intentions, communicate that. It will go such a long way to say, look, this is really hard for me to say this to you, but I want you to know X, Y, and Z, because when you do that, people think of you in this way. Like you're letting a person know something about themselves that's going to help them, to help them to grow, to help them, like I just used in that example, it's going to help them in terms of how people perceive them. So when you're sharing from a place of love with good intentions, whatever it is that you have to share, whether, like I said, those things that can be difficult to communicate, it's going to be received so much better when the person understands where you're coming from. So I think sometimes when we're keeping it real, that can be the missing element, because a person can totally misunderstand your intentions. And especially, people who may have a more direct approach in the things that they share, because it's really hard for some people to hear things about themselves. But again, if you share, or if you proceed the conversation with, I want to say this to you because, I think this will help you, or, however it is that you share that, just so they understand where you're coming from in the message that you're trying to convey. So, it's just so important that we are aware of how we share things, how we communicate things. Again, particularly the things that can be more difficult to be so, completely open about. So intentions are a very big deal when it comes to keeping it real. And you always, hopefully, we have good intentions when we're sharing. If you're going to tell someone like, you don't look your best today. Are you feeling okay? Don't just make a person feel horrible. Like, gosh, you look a mess today. No, like, you can say that in a nice way. So again, we always want to be aware of how the information is going to be received. You want to be conscious of another person's feelings and, have good intentions in what you share. So that is, being real and keeping it real. Let's see what else. As I was saying, sometimes the things we share can be, very hard to communicate. People, I think we are very judgmental by nature. If you think about it, like, we judge everything we see. We decide, do I like this? Do I not like this? We're constantly judging everything. And when we share our opinion with other people, it may be perceived as you're being very judgmental. If you're telling someone, I don't like what you're wearing today. Well, but you might actually have good intentions for, saying, look, I've seen you look better, or this might look better on you. And you're actually trying to help them. You're not trying to hurt them or be judgmental. So again, just be aware of how you communicate those things. That is the beautiful, loving, the real aspect of keeping it real. So, it's really all about how we communicate when we're keeping it real. Because, clearly we want to do that. It's very important to do that, to be, your true, sincere, and authentic self. But we have to be aware of these things. So, you know, character is a big deal. Your character is really, how you show up in the world, how you are presenting yourself, and how other people are perceiving you. So, you want to really be aware of that and present yourself, in the best character. We all have the ability, to show up as the best and realest aspect of ourselves, but it's a choice like everything else in life. So, think about your character. Think about, I think there are some people who say, like, I really don't care what another person thinks of me. And, I do think some people truly feel that way. But as I said, it really does matter. Your character matters. I mean, that is your honor. That is your name. That is your reputation. All of those things matter. So present yourself in a real way that is, not only respectful, but respectable. You want to respect others and you want to be respected, but you have to present yourself in a respectful manner. So being that real loving being, people respect that. People respect a person who is, kind and considerate and courteous, and, all of these things that we need to be on a daily basis. And, granted, none of us are perfect. We all have our days. We have moments when, things throw us off and things aren't going as we planned. But, as I said, we have to go back and make those things right. Just to let, you have an off day, or a conversation that doesn't go the way you want, revisit that with the person, whoever was involved in that circumstance, and make it right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with admitting when you've made a mistake, or, if you feel that, you wish you had done something better, or, that you could have done something better. Believe me, that person will truly appreciate that. So, just be aware of these things, and we can always make things better. But again, keep in mind, in every interaction, people are getting to know who you are, and you want to really think about your character and how you're showing up and how people feel about you. This is your life experience, and it is your life to show up as the your responsibility, I should say. It is our responsibility to be the best that we can be. We if we want to create a better world, we all have to choose to be better humans, and it's an individual choice. So we really have to think about these things, really think about how we're showing up in the world and how others perceive us. Let's see. So a couple weeks ago, we did a segment on spiritual connection. And I did a beautiful segment on like this deep spiritual connection that I have with the artist Prince. And I shared a lot of stories and experiences that I've had. And not only do I have that relationship with Prince, as I said, I have those deep spiritual connections with many people in my life, family and friends. And but I think the way we truly grow those spiritual connections or make those spiritual connections is by being truly open hearted and authentic. The heart is the thing that truly connects all of us. And when our heart is open to someone, whether they are here in this lifetime, physically here, present, or whether they have transitioned, we can build these deep spiritual connections with virtually anyone. So I shared with you all that I have that beautiful, deep spiritual connection, that open-hearted connection, and I think that I have that. Not that I think I have it. I have that connection actually with my daughter, who is here visiting from Australia. And the way that she and I have actually established that connection is by being, our real authentic self with one another, by being, truly open hearted and honest with one another, that we have been able to establish this beautiful, deep soul connection. So, today in this episode of Love Talks, I would love to introduce to you my daughter, Alex, who is here visiting from Australia. And we're going to talk a little bit about spiritual connections. Hello. Oops, sorry. No, that's slide up closer to me. Okay. So, hello everyone again. This is my daughter, Alex. I'm so delighted and excited that she's here from Australia. You guys hear me talk about her. I love to talk about her because I'm so proud of her, and I'm so thrilled that we've had the last few days to spend together, because with everything that's going on in the world, I haven't seen her in over a year and a half, well, almost a year and a half. So I'm so happy that she is here with me. Like, my heart is so full, and it's so perfect that she has shown up in this particular series of Love Talk segments. Like, we're talking about going into the heart and developing spiritual connections and keeping it real with one another, and living from the heart, and all of these things that I talk about each week. And how perfect is it that Alex is here in this segment? So I'm just,
thank you for having me.
Well, of course, you're always. So anyway, I wanted to just share a little bit about our relationship, because I think Alex and I have a very unique relationship, and I've shared that before in other Love Talk segments, that she and I have a really beautiful, deep bond, and what I call a spiritual connection. Like, we're very connected. She's on the other side of the world, but it's like, in the way that our schedules line up, And, I might be thinking about something and she'll send me a picture of it. I mean, when she was on her way here coming from Australia, she's stopped at a mall or something and saw a shirt with my name on it, Ina, like,
You don't see that every day.
no. So, I mean, like that was pretty, but we have like all these little beautiful synchronistic connections that happen all the time. And I think, the relationship that we have is very unique and special. And I say that because, her friends seem to be very, what's the right word?
Surprise.
I mean, her friends love our connection. Like they think of it like, wow, like you and your mom have, and so it makes me aware that, I think a lot of kids don't have the kind of relationship with their parent that Alex and I have, because, they talk to her about, how beautiful it is. So I wanted to just, let Alex share a little bit about our connection and, like, how do you feel we have been able to develop the connection, the bond that we have?
Yeah, I think first of all, through your willingness to be open with me, that's kind of what made me realize that I could be open with you. So that kind of started it off. But then, through your actions, you showing me that you genuinely love me and care for me, and also showing me that you don't judge me. That really showed me that I could be open with you. So over time, it didn't start that way, of course, but over time we built this beautiful relationship. So
yes, and I've talked to Al. I mean, actually, I shared a lot of what you were just saying. I've shared in we did a Love Talk segment on love in relationships, and I did a segment on parenting with love, and so I shared a lot of my philosophy on parenting, and that's really a big thing for me, is that I try not to judge anyone. I'm not, believe me, I'm not perfect, and none of us are. Like I said, we're always judging things, but I love Alex unconditionally, and she knows that. And one of the things that I do is, like, I never try to tell my kids what to do. I shared this, as I said in that segment. I always try to guide them, to give them the right advice, but I always leave it open for them to make the decision, because there are natural consequences in life. So, if she makes the decision and it doesn't go right, then, she's now learned a lesson. So, but as I said in that segment, what has happened is, so often, I mean, not trying to really toot my own horn, but I think you've realized, like, wow, mom was right. Mom was right. Mom was right. And then, now I really do feel like you value my opinion, and,
yeah, definitely. So. Just knowing that you always want to help. I always, I know you're not trying to steer me wrong ever. So
yeah, but I truly, yes, absolutely. I always have, only the best intentions for you. So, what advice would you have for a parent who, may want to try and develop a spiritual connection with their child, like, to really, build that bond, that, that trust in a relationship? Like, what advice would you possibly have for a parent who might be thinking, like, how can I get to this place with my kids?
Yeah, I think any parent has to start with just being open themselves. They have to realize that, they've developed this relationship with their child, and there's most likely a parent-child kind of wall that they've built. And, it's going to take time, of course, but you can slowly be more open and just show them that you can, get to a place where you have a closer relationship, a more open relationship. It would just take a lot of communication, a certain type of dialogue, and just letting them know that you're not going to judge them. And
that judgment thing is a big deal, because I think parents often have good intentions, obviously, like we all want the best for our kids, but we may not necessarily communicate that in the right way. So that's really what I was sharing in this segment today about keeping it real. It's all about your intentions and really communicating that, making sure that Okay, if you're telling a child not to do something, or that you're not happy with something that they've done, or whatever the situation may be, that they understand, look, I just want the best for you. I just want you, to make the right choices in life. I really do love you. I care about you. Like, all of those things really do matter. Kids need to hear that. And I say all the time, there are, I don't know if I'm drawing a blank in the moment, but two things for sure. But I feel like there are three things. Oh, yes, there are three. Three things that kids need at all times, and that is love, support, and encouragement. And we talked about that in great lengths in the, I want to say it was the Parenting with Love segment. But obviously, all of us want love, want to feel loved. And it's so much more than a word. You have to truly demonstrate that you love your children, or whoever it is. Support, of course, again, being much more than just taking care of them, but supporting them in terms of their dreams and the things that they want. And encouragement, like, we all want encouragement. And this is something that, like, I authentically, genuinely say this to Alex all the time, but she always says, Mom, it means so much to me when you say that. But I always tell her, like, Alex, you're amazing. And she really is. Like, this girl is amazing. Like, she's so amazing. But she loves it when I say that to her. But I'm not just like, like, oh, I'm trying to encourage you. You're amazing. No, like, she really is amazing. And I love to tell her that she's amazing. So I really do. I'm so thankful for the relationship that Alex and I have. But I really realized that we didn't get to this place until I started. I kept asking her, like, Alex, be open, talk to me. You can confide in me. I would say all of these things, but until I started to be open with her and really communicate with her from my heart, is when things started to change. So, like she said, that communication is so, so important. So, what was the other thing we were going to talk about? Was the disconnect? So, what is the disconnect in, the parent-child relationships?
Yeah, I think that oftentimes the parent and child, like, their expectations of each other might not be quite in line. So, maybe the parent has decided that they're ready for a more open relationship, but the child might be used to that strict parent relationship. So, again, through communication, through showing them, I understand that you are a human being and you make mistakes, and I'm not here to judge you, but, I want you to be open with me, and it's going to have to start with the parent, or maybe the child wants that relationship first. Somebody's going to have to initiate that. I want this relationship to kind of move up to the next level. And yeah, so it'll take some time, but it can happen.
Yeah. And that's a great point, that like, it's like the relationship is evolving. And it's not something that's just going to magically happen. Like, you have to work. I mean, it is almost like magic, believe me, when it happens. Like, we truly have a beautiful relationship. But like she said, communicate that with your children, that I really want us to have a better relationship. I want us to, I want to like, grow our bond, our connection. Like, I mean, you know what to say to your child, but you have to communicate these things. Like, let's really work on our relationship. I want us to have a better relationship. We have to step out of that box, like I said, and keep it real with your children. In every relationship, it matters. And if that is your intention and that is what you want, you can't just sit by wanting it. You have to take action. You have to communicate that. Just be open and honest, and believe me,
it's worth it.
Yeah, you'll get there. You can do it. So,
and I feel like, of course, every relationship has its boundaries, and every relationship, probably, it might not be like ours. And that's where, again, that communication comes in. You can find a balance that works for your relationship specifically. So
yeah,
true.
Definitely. Yeah, that is true. Like, every relationship is absolutely different, but but you want to have the best relationship that you can possibly have, not just with your children, but, with all the people that truly matter to you. And again, that's why, and actually Alex was the one who came up with the topic for today's Love Talk segment. One of her friends called the other night, and they were talking on FaceTime, and she's like, say hi to my mom. And then like we were all having this conversation and we were just laughing and having a good time. And the guy was like, your mom is so cool. And then he's like texting her after we hang up.
The homie.
Her friends love me. Like they really do love me. And it's like adorable. They ask about me. So, but anyway, I said, Alex, that's so cool how your friends love me. And she goes, yeah, because you're always keeping it real. And then she goes, that would be a great topic for your next Love Talk. And I said, perfect. We're going to keep it real.
Yeah.
So, I really, that's what she and I do. Like, we're just being real with one another. She's free to be who she is, and I'm being who I am. And we can be who we are when we're together. And that's truly the beauty in every relationship. Keep it real, be who you truly are, and be the person that you truly want to be. So thank you, Alex. That was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. Look, we can do this from Australia, which I'm hoping, pray maybe she'll come back, but
we'll see.
We'll see. You guys pray on that. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you, but anyway. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to go anywhere. We're almost done, but so I just have a poem to share to round out this segment for today, and also to announce the winner of the book drawing, Stephanie Jackson, who's typically watching. So Stephanie, if you're watching today, congratulations. And truly, I just want to say, from my heart, because like my heart is so open and so full. I mean, it's often that way, but especially now, like having my daughter here means everything to me. So I just want to say, like, truly thank you to all of you who take the time to watch Love Talks. And I truly hope, like often I say to you guys what's truly on my heart, but I really hope that I'm sharing something that, that you find helpful and beneficial. So I just, again, really appreciate you for taking the time, to share. And as always, if you ever have any questions or, anything that I can help with, I'm happy and open to do that. So feel free to leave your comments. You can direct message me, or, however you would like to communicate that. And if you are new to Love Talks and you're interested in the book drawing, you just leave a like. I'm not forcing you to like the video. You can leave a comment, and that actually enters you in the drawing for the next week. So the poem that I'm going to be sharing today is titled Promise to My Heart. And forgive me, I wish I knew every one of my poems by heart. I much prefer when I can just recite them, but I don't know all of them, so I'll actually have to read this one, but Promise to My Heart. Today, I made a promise, truth to my own heart, to love without conditions, a pledge to do my part. What a loving obligation, intentions crystal clear, a promise to love completely, only love will conquer fear. Love is a way of being. When fear is cast aside, with fear no longer present, the heart can open wide. We are love's descendants. In love, we must believe. Heirs of the heart's possession, love's inheritance received. The heart, a priceless gem. Love is the value of our worth. Give till heart's content, and live heaven here on earth. Speak truth into your heart. Keep love within your sight. A heart of love ignited fans the flame of love's pure light. The promise to my heart is a pledge of love in me, to live in love each day and set my spirit free.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So, that's my pledge and my promise to all of you is, that I genuinely try to live from my heart. And I wish and want the same for all of you, that, we are here in this lifetime to live and to love and to heal and to grow together. So again, I ask if you know of anyone who might benefit from the Love Talks, please, you can tag them in the comments or, share this information with your family and friends. Like, I've said this many times, I'm just genuinely trying to help. So anyone who you think could benefit, please let them know. So I thank you guys so much. Alex and I are headed off to Hawaii tomorrow. We're going to be spending Thanksgiving on the island of Maui, and my sons will be there, who I also haven't seen in over a year. Nor have you, right? Oh my God. She's been in Australia and was actually, couldn't leave there for several months. So, we haven't seen each other in over a year now. So, we're both really excited to see them. It's going to be our own little family reunion. So I truly wish you guys like a wonderful week ahead, as I always do. Have a safe, healthy, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with your families. Please be safe. Everyone take care. And next week, we will complete this series of Going into the Heart. And until then, we'll see you soon.
Thank you guys.
Take care. Blessings.